Hello, it is Diane with Diane's Blue Hearts and Butterflies.com, and this card is a diamond pop-up fun fold card. It was inspired by a card that I saw from Mandy Witherby. I did make some adjustments because when I used the measurements and tried to make them fit into a normal United States kind of card, they overlap. So on my card kits that I made for a make and take class, I resized these pieces, but it's made so that you can kind of display it and have it be able to create this little pop-up in the middle. So I wanted to share some of the products that I used to do this. I did use the Irresistible Blooms as well as the Irresistible Bloom dies. I used those to cut these leaf parts. I used Encircled in Nature for this stamp that I liked. I also, in order to get the background for the flower, I went and got my Retired Painted Poppies because it had a neat little image to do that at the back. And then I pulled out Cheerful Daisies for the sentiment on the back that says wishing you the brightest birthday, but I did use Hooray It's Your Day from Irresistible Blooms. I was using Highland Heather and Gorgeous Grape, and then I also had some pastel pearls that I did pull out to use, as well as some white twine, which I created a double bow. And so let's go over the pieces that I used for this. It is an 8.5 by 5.5 Highland Heather cardstock, and I scored that at 2 1/8 and 4 1/4, and then you fold it in half and then fold it back on itself so that it creates that kind of a Z fold. And then there is the front panel, which goes right here, as well as the inside layer here. Those are both Gorgeous Grape cardstock that is 2 inches by 5 3/8. You'll need 2 of those, and then 2 of the Designer Series paper. I'm trying to remember, this was an old retired paper that I had. You can use any thing that works. So this is 1 7/8 by 5 1/4, and you're going to cut those and you'll layer those together, and then those will be the ones that go here. Then you have your inside layer, which is the Gorgeous Grape cardstock at 5 1/8 by 5 3/8, and then your Designer Series paper is 4 inches by 5 1/4, and you'll put that on the inside. But you're going to wait. Let me go through the rest of it and then we'll put it all together. So the back piece, I did a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of white. No, it was 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And I did my message for the back because on the inside there's really not much room when you've got this pop out. You might be able to put something back here, but it just kind of detracts from there, so you can put that message on the back. Then the pop-out mechanism, you're going to need a Highland Heather cardstock or whatever you choose that's the same as the card base. And this is 2 inches by 5 inches, and you're going to score it at 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you're going to take the last piece and you're going to want to just trim off like a 1/16, just a little bit of this piece. And the reason you want to do that is so that when you put this together, it will line up with this edge. Because if you don't cut that little bit extra off, then it tends to make it too thick when it hits that score line. And then the piece that I cut off, I put some tear and tape, and then I put tear and tape on the one next to that, and then the one on the opposite side. This that we cut it off is going to be the one that folds to the inside. I'm going to go ahead and tear this to create that tube, rectangular tube. that creates that pop out. And you just kind of fold that down together. And then the reason that I have this here is so that I can glue it on the inside. Now let me finish. So the diamond shaped pieces that you're going to create your layers and stamp on, the Gorgeous Grape is 1 7/8 by 1 7/8, and then the white cardstock is 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. And then on these, I stamped the smaller of the flower images in Gorgeous Grape, and then I took that background kind of watercolor looking stamp and I inked that with Highland Heather, stamped off, and then stamped so that it would create more of a watercolor look in the background. And then I made a double bow with the white twine. I had a small little 1 inch by 2 inch strip, or whatever size you need for the sentiment size that you want. And then I just cut around that. This piece is going to need some dimensionals to adhere to the front of the card, so I'm just going to go ahead and put some of those on the back of this sentiment, have it ready to go. And then I cut 3 of, like I said, those leaf dies from the Irresistible Blooms. Alright, so you're going to want to go ahead and adhere all your layers together. I'm going to go ahead and use the Seal Plus to do that. Just creating a little border around all the edges. And yes, I made a mistake. I grabbed the big flower first, and then I said, oh, that's the wrong one. But it's a good thing that cardstock has 2 sides, because you can always stamp the other side. And no one knows but you. And put that on there. Then I'm going to go ahead and do my other layers. You can see this is an old Designer Series paper that I had. It was with one of those butterfly things a few years back. But I hadn't used it all up, and it went so well with this card idea. Again, this I was looking on the internet and found a bunch of card making techniques that use diagonals. And so I just kind of decided to do a diagonals make and take class, techniques class. And then we'll do this last one. And then you're going to want to go ahead and put those on the card base, because when you put this on, you'll want to have your layers already on there. And one of the people at the class, just check and make sure that the paper's not going to bother you if it's going a wrong way. I don't know that some of these Designer Series papers has kind of an upside down or right side up. Some of them do, so be careful if you have that. You want to make sure that it's not going to bother you. So here this. Just want to make sure it doesn't come off. And I used tear and tape on the mechanism just because it's going to be, the card's probably going to be opened and closed a few times, and I didn't want it to pop off from just using regular adhesive. You can use the white glue if that works for you. So this is where that mechanism is going to need to be, and you may want to wait. Let me do this first. So on here, when this is folded, these 2 of these are going to line up however you want them. I think it's that way. Kind of want to make it where it goes and meets kind of in the middle. And you're only going to want to put adhesive on the side that's going to be on the front. So just make sure that you're doing it on the correct side and not going over the edge, because it will stick to the back side. Out of the way. Make sure my glue's on that side. And line that up so that it goes right there. And again, I want to just double check myself. I'm putting it on the correct side. Hope that I'm still in the frame. And this piece will line up so that it touches there. And then this is where you may want to go ahead and, I don't know, maybe I want to stick it on after. Just want that to be kind of in the middle. So I'm gonna line that up about the middle. You can measure if it really bothers you. Some people can eyeball and some people just don't like eyeballing. And then put that where you want it. And then you can just fold that down. Get your hand up under there. And then when you open it back up this way, you just take the ones off the back side. And then fold the back together. And you can use your bone folder to give yourself a little more push. This one is gonna have a little bit more thickness to it, so it may actually cost a little bit more to mail that. But then you're gonna want to figure out where that kind of lines up in the middle, because when you open it, and then you'll also notice that it doesn't quite go to the middle, but you'll want it to line up where it touches that edge. So you might want to make a mark underneath, or just kind of measure with your finger to know where that is. I'm just going to kind of put some on this side. As you can tell, I'm more of an eyeballer. And then again, I want to make sure that it's kind of in the middle, but I push it in. And I'm just kind of pushing down. Hold it for a few seconds, and then when you open it up, there's your pieces. And we have the layer for the back. I did the wishing you the brightest birthday, and then again I did this is from the what is this one? Encircled in Nature. I really like that little flower, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to glue this, adhere this to the back side of the card. And there's a smaller border because it's 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. So it's just a very small border to create that. And then I used glue dots, or you can use white glue if you wish. And if you use the glue dots, you're going to want to kind of roll it into a cylinder, so to speak, so that it can hide behind where you want that. And then I just kind of decided where I wanted it. And roll up another one. And if you're a crafter like me, for some odd reason, there is a front and a back to some of these die cuts because it just leaves kind of a raised edge. And I'm going to put that one there. And don't forget your double bow. And again, you'll want to kind of roll that up behind there too a little bit, because you don't want it sticking to the envelope. back in here. And then don't forget also the leaf. And the third one I put on the inside. It's kind of wherever you want it. And the sentiment. Peel off those backings. And then you adhere that over here to this side. And don't forget the, where did they go? My little pearls. I don't know where they went. That's how it goes sometimes, is you lose something. Wait, maybe it's still in here. I don't know. Thought that I had them out, but maybe I didn't get one in here. So I just chose whichever one that I thought kind of worked. And I think I'm gonna go with the lighter ones. And figure out where I want to put that. Put it right here. Might just put it right in the middle of those flowers, just so it kind of looks like the center of the flower. One there. There we go. So that is a diagonal pop-up fun fold. And I give thanks to Mandy Witherby that I saw that on the internet from her. And I hope that you enjoy that. And the measurements and everything just is over on my blog at dianesblueheartsandbutterflies.com. And if you don't have a demonstrator, I would love if you would shop with me for any products that you might wish to buy. And I appreciate you spending your time with me, and I hope that you have fun making this card. Thank you.